Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. In this podcast, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips, and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. In today's episode, I chat with friends Liz Atwood and Melinda Ecker, who together with their husbands visited England for 3 weeks in September this year. The two couples had previously visited England together on a coach tour and wanted to spend longer exploring their favourite destinations this trip. In this episode, you will discover how they planned their trip, how they got around England, plus great info and tips from their time in the Cotswolds, St Ives, Bath, York and London. You will also find out some great eatery suggestions and more. So without further ado, let's introduce Liz and Melinda. So do you want to just introduce yourselves and tell us who you are, where you're back, where you live in the States, because obviously I know that you live in the US, but a little bit about yourselves would be great.
I'm Liz Atwood and my husband is Kent, and we just yesterday celebrated our 48th wedding anniversary. And I work in the healthcare setting, and we've been friends with the Eckers since our kids were about 3 or 4 years old. We met at church.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And Melinda?
And we, my husband is Ken, and we live in what's called South Hill Puyallup. It's about an hour south of Seattle. And we actually live in the same neighborhood. Been friends for years. And we have been Anglophiles for many years. So yeah, this was a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic, and I know because obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about it when we did the consults as well, and talking to Liz, previously about it. So, when you were planning your trip, obviously you kind of had lots of places to choose from, and we'll talk a bit more in detail about where you did choose to go. But would Melinda or Liz, would you like to just give us a kind of overview of the places that you did choose to go?
Sure. 3 years prior, we had been to England and spent a few days in London, and then we took a tour,
10-day tour,
and through southern England. And I had all these plans of all the things I wanted to see, and discovered it was very much on their timetable, and the things we saw were great, but we knew there was so much more we wanted to see. So based on kind of that, and then some other things we wanted to do, we came up with some places we'd really like to go and focus on for 2 or 3 days in each area.
So did you guys do that trip to England together?
Yeah.
3 years ago? Okay. So that was cool. So that was a bus tour that you did?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And where did you go on that, just out of interest?
Every place we went this time, we kind of went back to most of those places and stayed there. So we were in London, we went to Morton and Marsh in the Cotswolds and had a day tour there. And then we Stratford-on-Avon and
Glastonbury.
I bought a ring there that I love.
Salisbury. I don't know.
Cathedral.
Salisbury. Yes, Salisbury.
St. Ives and Did I say Bath?
Bath. Okay, so and that was on. So I think those coach tours are really good, but I think, and probably you found this, it gave you an introduction and a taste of what you wanted a bit more of. So I guess that's what. So you built on that with this next trip this year. So that's really good. So obviously you're talking like 3 years ago that you went on that coach trip, and that obviously we've had COVID in between that, so that's kind of put a lot of people's plans on hold. So were you planning before COVID, and then did you kind of put your plans in place, or did you have to put them on hold, or how did it go?
No, it was. I think we were kind of done with COVID, like everybody else, after 1.5 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
And Liz has kind of been our travel planner under you.
Yeah.
She does a lot of research. She enjoys that. She'll tell you more about that.
Yeah.
And we're like, we don't know. We're retired and we got to be careful. And then we start talking about it. And my husband's like, okay, we're going to do this. And that is really half the fun. We've said this several times, is planning the trip.
Yeah.
Dreaming of, look at, I found this place. What do you think? And so, so yes, this was like, I still have how when you eat something really good and it just leaves a taste in your mouth. This is how I tell people, this is how I feel about that trip.
Oh, wow.
I'm just savoring it. I don't want it ever to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, that's so lovely to hear that you loved it so much. And to be honest, I mean, I loved following your trip because obviously you put pictures on the Facebook group and kind of give us reports, and it was amazing. It brings it, because obviously we've met you so many times, and it's so lovely to have that kind of connection and be able to follow your trip. And, I know there were a few issues and there was some fantastic time, and most of it was fantastic, a few issues, but you dealt with them really, really well. And we can talk about those in a bit. But obviously, I don't know, Liz, if you came to us via our Facebook group first or whether you came to us via the website first. Because obviously doing the research, I'm hoping that you came across it. Well, you obviously came across us somehow.
Yes, it was when I was when we were trying to decide how we would get around, and both of our husbands said, we're not driving. And so we said, okay, that means this has to be by train. So I started Googling about train travel in London. And through that, at some point, your website popped up and I started looking at it and I called them. We came over one night. I said, okay. And it was Ken's birthday and your book had just come out.
Oh, that's right.
And so I bought that for his birthday and printed it all up and gave it to him that night and go, we need this. It's going to help us with our plans. And it definitely did. And then it led us to be able to talk to you about planning, and it led us to your Facebook group where so much more than just train travel is there. It was a great resource.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, brilliant. And it was so nice. I knew we just released the book and I think you were one of the first people that purchased it. So that was lovely. And we've actually just updated that. And we've literally just started another Facebook group just for UK train travel tips. Because obviously, you've met Doug's, my husband, he's the real UK train guru. And I think he wanted to get a bit more into nitty gritty. So we've got it in the group, and then he's going to have his own little UK train travel tips Facebook group as well. So that's recently been launched, because we know traveling by train in the UK can be a bit daunting if it's not something that you're used to. And it's obviously something that Doug's very passionate about, and we've traveled a lot by train. So we know that you did do quite a bit by train. But do you just want to give us a kind of quick snapshot of the places that you visited when you were over this year?
Sure. We started in London for about a couple nights. And then we went to
Morton and Marsh.
Yep.
We had driven through there before on our tour. We stayed 3 nights there, and we took a local bus and went to Bourton on the Water.
Yep.
A couple times we went to that. We stayed in a very quintessential bed and breakfast there. Acacia House.
Yeah.
We were, again, trying to stay mid-range in everything we did. And because there's the 4 of us, we could split a lot of the costs. So we felt we did a really cost-effective trip. And anyway, from there we went to Bath. And beautiful. I would definitely go back there and stay. Beautiful. We stayed at the Canard there. It was a bed and breakfast, had beautiful breakfasts. And then take us from there.
Oh, then we went to St. Ives and spent about 3 nights there. From there, we had our longest train trip, which is back up to York, and then finished off back our last several days in London. And I have to say, I got great tips from Doug. We bought the BritRail Pass, and we figured out how many times we think we need to use it to determine which one we got. And he told me, when you get to London, we stayed in the Paddington area, so we were close to that station. He said, go there and book your
reservations.
Your reservation. We had reservations, but book your seats.
Yeah.
So we went there and got that done literally the first day we arrived in town, because I just wanted to make sure we had those seats. So that was great thing to do because some of those trains were very full. I heard an announcement one day asking people to please move your luggage from around you because we have people standing on the train. So it was nice to have our seat reserved.
And it was good that you did it when you arrived as well, and you could leave it to that point. So because then you don't have to pay if you go to a train station, you can take your bookings when you want to travel, and they can book that for you. So it doesn't cost you anything, which is another, because obviously you've paid quite a bit already for your BritRail pass, and then to have to pay for reservations, it's also quite pricey. Did you have a first class BritRail pass?
Yes, we did.
And we would highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. We were there in September. So it wasn't quite as touristy, but Tracy, almost every leg of our journey, we were like the only ones or just among a few people in first class.
Yeah.
And we didn't know the first time that they served food and beverages.
Yeah.
So we brought our own little sandwiches, and pretty soon they come along and I'm like, she got a sandwich, Liz.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty good. We also like to travel first class when we're back as well. It's always good fun.
Yeah.
And you're guaranteed that you're going to get a nice seat and quite often food and beverages are served as well. So yes, it's a lovely way to travel, and I'm glad that it worked out and that you did that. So were you impacted, or I'm going to throw this in there because this has been, obviously we're now in December when we're recording this, and there are still rail strikes, unfortunately, happening in the UK, that it still has not been resolved. I'm really hoping that it will be resolved at some point very soon, because it did have quite a significant impact on some people's train travel plans this year. So did that impact you guys?
I have to say we were not really adversely impacted by that. Plus, it so happened when we were there, the Queen passed away. And they continued having the trains run to honor her and to allow people to travel and get to London and stuff. Yeah. So, but we were impacted on one of our legs. There was, for whatever reason, I think they announced finally it had to do with
not enough workers.
Yeah, lack of staff.
Marsh trying to get to Bath.
Yeah.
So that was the one issue we had. We had got there early and our first train canceled, then the second train canceled. When the third train canceled, we said we need to find another way. And that's when we contacted a local taxi service, Andy's.
Yeah.
He was fantastic, and he drove us to, at first he didn't think he could because he had another reservation later and he was afraid he wouldn't have time to get back. But then he just set off. When he found out nobody picked us up, he came and got us, and he was fantastic.
Oh. Tracy, he was like a tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because it's almost a couple hours or so to Bath. And so he was telling us, this is a duchy, the king now owns all this, and telling us things. And he had a brand new hybrid cab that was very roomy and comfortable. And he was very proud of that, as he should be. We just determined as best we could before we went, we're just going to look at everything as an adventure, because we were reading these stories on Facebook, on your Facebook page, about people, oh, my luggage didn't get here and this and that. And I'm like, we're just going to
go with it.
We're just going to roll.
I think, guys, that is absolutely the best attitude that you have to have. You really need to, at the moment, going into travel, there are just things that happen, whether it's luggage or the trains, or not enough staff in airports, or not enough staff for railways, or railway strikes, or, lots of things that are going on. And I think absolutely going into it with that attitude is totally the best. You just have to go with the flexibility of knowing that things may go wrong, but you know what? We can adapt.
Right.
Yeah, my thing was, I'm in England. Who cares? I'm here. I might never get back here again. So, I'm just going to look around and enjoy the scenery.
Mm-hmm. So obviously we talked about you. So mainly you got around by train and then in London, obviously tube, I guess. Tube walking.
Cab. Occasionally.
Yeah, my mum likes the cabs when we're in London. She's like, I don't want to go on the tube. I've got to go in the cab.
Yes.
We noticed we felt like we were often the old folks on the tube. And so we were like kind of proud of ourselves for doing it. Liz and my husband had working phones. So between them and getting on the city mapper and things like that. We still got confused a few times. Here's the thing. People were so helpful and just like, oh, just go that way. One guy said, follow me. And
He took us
to where we wanted to go. We thought,
get out here.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's honestly, it sounds like you really just had, like, you met some amazing people and had, helpful people, and
everyone without question was nice, without exception.
Oh, that's lovely.
It was helpful. Maybe because I'm old, so I don't know. I won't say this.
No, you're not. No, you're not. We just had this discussion before we started recording. We're
sorry.
not.
Okay. I'm not old.
No, exactly. So obviously we talked a little bit about the accommodation that you chose. So you went for mid-range. So did you go for the kind of guest house, bed and breakfast style of accommodation?
So when we started in London, we went on the cheaper end and we stayed at a Premier Inn. I have to say it was fantastic. It had a great breakfast. It was a beautiful hotel and it was very cheap, like £100 a night, including breakfast for both of us. And it was a very lovely place. Then we wanted to kind of, like she said, experience, some of the great buildings and stuff, which meant a lot of stairs. But we stayed in a bed and breakfast at the Acacia House in Morton Marsh. And then in Bath and in York, we stayed at more like a guest house type place that were lovely, especially I have to say the Tower House in York.
Right.
Lovely facility, beautiful rooms, all different rooms, every one of them, and beautiful meals. And then when we were in St. Ives and in London, we did Vrbo and Airbnb and stayed in a home.
Okay. And they enjoyed those as well?
We did. I think the one in London, it was quite expensive, and I don't know if I'd go that route again, but it was a great location, and it was a lovely old home, and it was fun. So, hey, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We might not do it again because it was the most expensive place we stayed, but it was a fun experience.
Well, that's good. London does tend to be a bit more on the pricey side. So I think, that's always a bit where I kind of say budget a little bit more for your accommodation in London, because it's the capital. It's like every major city in the world, I guess, capital city, it's going to be that more expensive. So you went how long were you in London for? How many days?
On the front end, I think we were there 3 nights, and on the back end, we were there 5 nights. So we're actually in London 8 days of our 21 days.
You were. That's quite a long time. So tell me about what you did in London. How did you fill 8 days up?
On the front end, one day, Liz and Kent went to the Harry Potter tour, and Ken and I went to Soho District, basically, and we saw Mousetrap because we had never seen that.
Yeah.
We just walked around a lot of different places that day. We went to Fortnum and Mason is Liz. Tell you her experience there. She had great fun there, and it's a beautiful store.
Yeah.
We went to a play on the last end. We saw Six, the musical Six. Loved it. We took the train to
Hampton Court Palace.
Hampton Court.
Yeah.
We went on Tuesday, and the gate said closed, and we're like, but we have a ticket. Well, we had a ticket for Wednesday.
Oh no!
Hey, at least now we know how to get there.
It's easy, isn't it? Getting to Hampton Court Palace is really easy. We get asked that a lot. It's not very far, and it's really easy to get to.
Yep. And we walked, took the tube, and then walked around the grounds of Kensington Palace.
That was closed.
We walked around downtown London, like all around all the major sites. Although because of the Queen's passing, everything was closed and you couldn't get super close. But we had been there.
Yeah, we had done that. We had decided we wouldn't go to like Buckingham and Windsor Castle this time.
Yeah,
because we had spent a lot of time on the tour there, so we wanted to see other places.
Yeah. Paul's and Westminster Abbey we had done.
But we did walk all around there. Oh, and we did a fabulous walking tour the last few days. Actually, I think it was second to the last day. We did many walking tours in almost every place we went, and they're so worth it. They're either the one in Bath was free that we did. And he wouldn't take tips. Most people don't take tips there, as you probably know. Maybe it's changing, I don't know. But these guys that do these tours, it's their thing. They like it. And so my husband's favorite was in Oxford. We went to Newchurch, I think. So much history.
Yeah,
I've got it all in my notes. We just loved it.
Yes.
We had a great walking tour in London from a guy who had.
Did you do the one in Oxford? Did you do that with an Oxford graduate or?
Yes.
He was,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm. He was a professor.
But he had been a professor. He was older,
Yeah.
and he's been there for years, and he was a font of information. He had so much knowledge. He was fascinating.
We did one with a college graduate university graduate, college graduate in Cambridge this year, because it's somewhere that Doug had been to a few times, and I couldn't remember if I'd been. So I was like, we need to go to Cambridge, and that was a real highlight of our trip this year. We really enjoyed that because I think again it's that having the walk and tour or tour with somebody who knows the history, knows the area, they know the places to go and eat, they know all those kind of things that you only know if you're actually immersed and living in a place.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really good way to learn a bit more about an area. When some of those tours are only a couple of maybe an hour and 2 hours walking tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We didn't realize we did one in Bath, and how much of Bath had been destroyed in the war. It was interesting about how much had to be rebuilt. So, you learn things that you think you know a lot, and then you go and you're like, oh, I didn't know that snippet of information or that snippet of information. So, it's useful to hear. So you were in St. Ives, you said, so you did your London. So obviously you've been to London before. So this was a chance to go and see some of to walk around, soak in the atmosphere. Or you need to tell me about Fortnum and Mason.
Oh, no, it was just like, I just love tea. And
yeah,
I wanted to pick up a few things. I didn't have WePack to travel, with for train travel. So we went on with carry-on only. So, I didn't have room for extra things. And so I was like being very like, oh, I get this little thing, I get that little. And then this lovely man told me, are you going to ship? And I said, well, I was hoping I might be able to ship a few things. And he said, well, it's 25 pounds to ship, no matter if you buy one thing or 1,000 things. So go for it. And I did.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So what did you buy? When we know?
Oh, I bought tons of cookies and tea and a Christmas ornament and Christmas like little towels and jams and all the things, chocolates for my grandchildren, their beautiful chocolate coins, and just all the stuff.
Fantastic. So did that arrive fairly quickly after you got back?
It arrived before we did.
Wow.
So we had to call our neighbor and ask him to bring it in for us, take it to his house, because I didn't want it sitting out for days on the porch.
No.
What? It's already arriving? How is that possible?
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And that's good to know. That's something because, I'm a bit like you. I prefer to do carry on only, but then you have the problem, even just the last trip that I've just done to Southeast Asia, I went carry on only, but I didn't come carry on back. It's like, it's very, I go with the intention of doing that. And it's like, no, too many things to purchase. So it's good. So after London, then you went to the Cotswolds. Was this you'd been to the Cotswolds before on the bus tour?
Well, we kind of drove around there, but we had
we went ourselves.
Yeah, we had gone ourselves when that first few days before the tour. We were in London, and we booked a private tour through the Cotswolds. So we took the train to Morton and Marsh. They're no longer. I think I tried to get a tour with them again. It was the Secret Cottage or something like that. Anyway, they're not doing them right now. So. we weren't able to use them this time, but we had a lovely tour with them 3 years ago.
Good. Well, next time you can always go with Victoria Cotswold teacup tours. She's doing them now, so and she's brilliant. She's actually going to be coming in the Facebook group to do a live with me in a couple of weeks' time to answer questions about the Cotswolds, because we know it's somewhere that is so popular to visit. And I can't get enough of the Cotswolds. When I go back, I always want to go and visit. So it's brilliant having Victoria grew up in the Cotswolds, so she knows the area really well. And she knows all the best places for tea and cake, Liz. So it's brilliant. So obviously you enjoyed Bath. You had a good couple of days in Bath. Yeah.
Yes. 2 nights.
Yeah. Bath's lovely, isn't it?
And it's beautiful.
Oh my goodness. That whole water thing. And we did a short little boat trip right up right to where the water comes down. And at night it was gorgeous. The weather was just great. The weather in UK is a lot like where we live. Yep. And September was great. I mean, it was pretty mild the whole time. So
beautiful.
That's good. I mean, September can be pretty good and not too much. I mean, the UK climate, I guess it's the same in Seattle. It's variable. You can't necessarily predict, but generally, September can be really nice time. And obviously the kids have gone back to school as well. So that makes it better because it's quieter. So it's actually a good time to travel.
Right. Yes.
How was St. Ives? Because obviously like St. Ives is, we were in St. Ives in, July. I remember I did a little video for you when we arrived at the train station in a little bit, because we were so excited about you guys going to St. Ives and obviously going to have fish and chips, which I know you did.
Yes, we did.
We did.
So did you enjoy your time in St. Ives?
It was probably a highlight of our trip. We loved it. It was, it's beautiful there. We just walked around so much, and we stumbled across a little community theater that happened to be doing their show that night.
Just on the street from where we were staying.
Yes, that Melinda found, and she went in and talked to them. Sorry. And it was Calendar Girls, the musical, and they did a phenomenal job. It was like amazing. A highlight.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then we took a tour through the through Cornwall.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to St. Michael's Mount, and we went to Manac Theater and a lot of the area around there, the old abandoned coal mine.
Tin mines?
Yes.
The reason I know that is my great grandfather worked in the tin mines in Cornwall and actually moved up to the northeast. He met my great grandmother as he travelled up through the country in Derbyshire and settled up in the coal mines of Northumberland.
Really?
Wow.
So I can trace back to my great grandfather from the tin mine. So it's very interesting to visit, isn't it?
That was fascinating, and we just loved that trip. And I didn't know what to expect because I had booked with a gentleman, and then when with the Queen's passing, I don't know what all he does, but he said he got called to London to work security. So he passed us on to someone else. He said, you'll be in great hands. That person was prompt, got in touch with us. Then I heard from him. He said, I'm so sorry, I've gotten sick. And so he goes, I'm passing you on to somebody else, but I know you'll have a great trip. So we're like, okay. And then he came and got us. He was so fantastic. He was also new. He goes, well, this other gentleman you were supposed to be with, he has a lot more of the history, but I can't imagine more history because this guy knew so much. He was so fun. Yeah. And
he was just an everyday guy.
Yep.
And he was almost apologetic at first about what he didn't know.
He knew a lot.
And
yeah.
And it was supposed to be like about a 5.5 or 6 hour trip. And when he dropped us back off at our doorstep, we'd been gone almost 9 hours. He just really gave us a lot of his time. He goes, well, I didn't want to cut you short at Manac or at St. Michael's Mount. So I really appreciated that from him. And
That's what we want, isn't it? Somebody who's responsive to where you're at and what you're enjoying, so that, because there's nothing worse than it, is it? I think sometimes you can go on these tours. It's different when you've got a private tour because you can have that flexibility, but there's nothing worse when you go and you want to spend that little bit longer, an hour longer or half an hour longer, you're in a shop and then you have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's brilliant having that flexibility. I think it may be Manege Tours that you went with, Liz, who we've now partnered with, actually through your recommendation, because when we look at who, the private driver tour guides and companies that we partner with, we want to know, we want to hear from you guys. Who is it that you've been with that you have had an exceptional experience with? Because those are the companies we want to work with.
I think for all of us, it was like one of our highlight days.
Absolutely. We were so proud that we conquered St. Michael's Mount. We were kind of daunted by that, not realizing it's quite a little hike up to the top. Oh my goodness. It was so worth it. Oh, worth it. It was beautiful, and all the things about it. It was just amazing. And Monac Theater, wasn't familiar with it. Liz had known about it.
Isn't it beautiful?
I just said, over there, you have to go to those two places. You just have to.
Absolutely. And St. Michael's Mount, did you go over on the boat or did you walk over the causeway? Or
we wanted to walk on the causeway, but it just happened the time it worked conveniently to be there. We took the boat. But
the boat's amazing.
Yeah,
I thought the boat was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to walk on that ancient causeway. But that's okay. We saw, as we were coming back, the water was kind of going out, and you could see it. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It is lovely. It is lovely. We went in July. We went over by boat, and then we were lucky enough for the tides, because obviously it's tidal, depending on what the tides are. That the tide went up, so we were able to walk back over the causeway. But it just means you guys need to visit again if you want to do that.
Yes.
Absolutely. So then York. So you went up to York. So how long did you spend in a couple of nights in York?
Yes, 2 nights in York.
Lovely. The Tower Guest House.
Oh, the Tower
Guest House was amazing. Every room the owner has made a different theme.
Yep.
And kind of each room, and they were amazing, and they're roomy. Many rooms you stay in there, they're not very big, and that's okay because you're not spending a lot of time there, but they were beautiful.
What was the name of it again? So you broke up, it paused, it kind of stopped a bit. So I don't know if we've got the name.
Tower Guest House.
Yep.
And it's about a mile and a half out of the main part of York, like where York Minster is and all that. So it's a little bit we did a lot of walking. We loved York. The highlight was Howard Castle, which she had found. I think you found that. And that's about an hour and a half.
No, 35 minutes out.
Yeah.
35-minute cab ride out. Beautiful. Beautiful. Related to Catherine Howard, one of King Henry VIII's wives. We did the Bloody Tour of York. Is that what it's called?
Something like that. Bloody Mary Tour, I think.
It's a nighttime tour. Excellent.
She was phenomenal.
A gal does it, and it was really good. It was very crowded there. Lots of people. That was the only place besides Burroughs Market, which we didn't mention, where it was really difficult. We could never get in to eat. I mean, most places we never made a reservation, but here we really should have.
York can be crazy busy throughout the summer because it's a really popular destination for Brits as well. Will go to York because it's just, it is very, very popular.
Yeah.
And again, making reservations at restaurants it's quite important. We were actually lucky because we did meet up with Mark and Kay, who we'd done an itinerary consult for, and they were like, come out, we're going to go out for dinner, and I was like, we haven't booked anywhere, and luckily we actually managed to get in at the Guy Fawkes Inn, but and that was in June, that the long holiday weekend for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, so we were incredibly lucky to be able to do that. But it's even in September, I guess, having to think. Potentially, you could have got a Yorkshire pudding wrap though. The Yorkshire pudding wrap.
We did do that.
Did you enjoy that?
Yes,
it was good. It was kind of on the go kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we took it, but it was good. And I actually bought a coat there at Mark and Spencer's. That was the one thing. I didn't bring a warm enough coat, which I really only needed a couple days, but
mostly for that night tour.
Yeah, I guess it was the night tour. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, lucky you've got Marks and Spencer's to go shopping in. I've been in that Marks and Spencer's a number of times. That Marks and Spencer's, if you go to the cafe in that Marks and Spencer's in York, you get a fantastic view of York Minster.
Oh, well, we did go to York Minster.
Yeah.
We went to the church service.
Yeah, because the Queen passed away, the churches that we had reservations with, those all canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to services, and that was very enjoyable.
Yeah,
and
it was very
we could
different.
see, we couldn't explore every nook and cranny, but we could see the church and get to experience being in the building.
High church, different from us.
Yeah,
that was very fun. We loved that. It was something we didn't plan, and again, we loved doing it. So it worked out. Well, it didn't matter that we didn't have the tickets. We still got to enjoy the beauty of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's really good. So I'm going to kind of pivot a bit at the minute and talk, because we've kind of just mentioned food there. So obviously you were booked into a lot of bed and breakfast, so you would have got some pretty good breakfasts, I would imagine.
Right.
But what were the highlights in terms of food when you were over?
For me, I loved going to the different pubs, the old buildings, and having some of the traditional food, the bangers and mash, fish and chips. We got some soup and good bread and just things like, I love that quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's a place in London that we had gone to 3 years ago. It's called Yen Burger, and it's just a little, I don't even know where it is.
It's near Burroughs Market.
It's near Burroughs Market.
Yep.
And they just have some unique, really good burgers there. We went there again. And just to mention a few places that wouldn't be you got to go here, but the food was great. In Morton and Marsh, there's the Reedsdale Hotel and Pub. We had a fantastic lunch there. I had I think it was liver pate. I eat these different things that people don't eat. It was delicious.
Oh, no, that sounds delicious.
Well,
Is that where you had fish and chips? I don't know. You had your Scotch egg there.
I had my Scotch egg there. And then I had the most amazing mocha creme brulee for dessert.
That's right.
Yeah, very nice.
So it was a very nice place.
That's good.
Also, there's a place called Grouch Coffee in Morton and Marsh that was right across from where we were staying. And Kent got a T-shirt there. Liz's husband. Grouch.
Yeah.
Good coffee. And then in St. Ives, we wanted to plug this one. There's a coffee place called Sea of Coffee, just right on the street. And it's you can sit up above. So nice. The lady was so nice. We kept going back there.
Every day.
We're from Seattle. We drink espresso all the time. So I wanted to plug one more little place in London.
All right.
The day that they were at Harry Potter, and Ken and I were walking around near Soho. I guess there's two of these. It's called Amelia's, and it's a little patisserie and coffee shop. And we've been walking a lot. We wanted a coffee break and sit down, but we're not doing Starbucks. Well, right next to Starbucks was this teeny tiny place called Amelia's, and they had Ken had avocado toast. I had a bagel with lox, and we had our espresso and sat there. It felt a little bit like a French little bistro place. I said I could stay here for hours.
Oh.
Just the ambiance, and they were really nice. I just love that little places. Those kind of places, it's kind of fun to find those.
Did you do an afternoon tea when you were in London, or?
We did it at the Jane Austen Museum.
Oh, lovely.
And while we were there was the Jane Austen Festival. So we got to see so many people walking around dressed to the nth degree. It was fun.
Oh, that would be fantastic. They're lovely.
My husband had pictures with people.
And that's lovely. It all brings that whole atmosphere of Bath. When I was in Bath earlier this year, I went to the Jane Austen Centre, and I don't know if it was a lady or waitress that was up in the tea room. She let me come and have a look and take some photos and look at the menu, and it did look amazing. We just didn't have time because when we had 3 months, you think we would have had time, but we were just here, then, everywhere.
Yeah.
Targeted things for next year when we're back. So hopefully we'll be able to get that. We did so many afternoon teas, it was getting I was thinking about my hips. We did a lot of walking as well, but I was like, I don't know how many more afternoon teas I can have.
We did do Sally Lunn also.
Yes.
A tea.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did that one. We have to mention Honest Burger in London.
Okay.
It's a chain.
Yep.
Really reasonable. This is our whole trip. We felt like the food was so reasonably priced. We did one fancy restaurant. I think it's the Ivy.
Oh, yes.
For my husband's birthday. Yeah. The Ivy Garden. But Honest Burger.
Yeah.
So we walked there several times in our last few nights when we were in London at that Airbnb.
Oh,
Twice. Okay. And the second time we went in, we sit down and we look over and I'm like, I think that's Roger Allam. You know the actor? Do you know who he is? Oh, well, we watch all things British, and he's in like Endeavour and a number of shows that we watch.
I feel like I should know who he is. I feel like I need to Google him now.
I recognize him.
I probably will.
And I'm like, he's right next to us. And we're all like, I think that's him. No, it's not him. I think it really is him. We're trying to be real cool, you know. But I'm sure he was like, oh, brother. So that was kind of fun. We saw him.
But we didn't bug him.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, though. So you talked, I remember when you left, when you flew out from Seattle, you put pictures of your luggage on the Facebook group, and there was a lot of interest in the luggage that you had, which actually I'm going to link into that in our packing guide, actually, because it did look really good. So how did you manage with just carry on? Because that's all you took. And I know you sent some stuff back. So, but apart from sending the stuff back, how did you find the luggage that you had? Would you recommend it? And also, I think what's really key and what's really important to say is that you did the right thing, because if you're traveling around by train, you need to just be dealing with carry on. You don't want to be taking a huge amount of luggage because it becomes a nightmare.
Yes.
That luggage in particular, it has these big wheels. We thought that would be nice going over different kind of terrain and easy to go up stairs and stuff. And I think it did a great job, but I don't know if I'd say it did any better than Ken and Melinda's, regular luggage, but I enjoyed it. It was nice. It was easy to move around. It was compact. So I did enjoy it. I mean, I'm glad I purchased it. So
yeah, and it worked well. So you also took carry-on as well, Melinda?
Yes, we did. It was a good size. I mean, but we each had just one bag. We were determined to do that. And Liz and I talked off and on for months. You know, we planned for a year. We planned this trip for over a year. And so we'd go back and forth. How are we going to do this? I need more. I can't just take 2 tops or whatever. So we ended up, figuring it out, and it worked out great. I do remember when we left our first few nights in London and getting to Paddington Station, we had to go up over this bridge with a lot of stairs. My husband is 6'4", and the rest of us are shorter. And so he was always 10 steps ahead of us. I was struggling with getting my bag up these stairs. Finally, this young man just comes along and picks up my bag and takes it over to the other side. I'm like, thank you.
Oh, that's lovely.
That happened to me a couple times too. I think, he was very nice. I think actually I was slowing him down. So he was like, oh, let me get that for you. And he grabs it and he gets it up. So I felt like I was kind of clogging the works a couple times, but people were, again, very nice, young men that, were very helpful. So kind
of. That's really good. So apart from, I know you said you had to buy a jacket, Melinda, was there anything that you packed that you wish you hadn't? So anything you took extra, or was there anything that you didn't take, which you wish you had done? Kind of 2 questions there. No?
Not for me. I was surprised how I got used to just wearing the same pants like days in a row. Jeans, they don't get that dirty. You're just walking and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I kind of wished when I was in London I had something a little nicer, but most of my trip was just tons of walking, and so it was more casual clothes. But
it's pretty casual in London, though. I mean, it's not like. I just tend to wear leggings and just stuff that's comfortable, That's
where we live too. We're very casual here.
Yeah.
And that's totally. So I love that.
Yeah.
The key thing is have a great pair of shoes that you have worn and broken in. And even if they cost you a little bit more than you would normally spend, it was so worth it. Because I had bought one pair of shoes I thought I might bring, and they didn't come before I left. I wore them one day and I'm like, these are horrible. And then I got another pair of Echoes that they were so comfortable, and that made all the difference for enjoying it.
I don't think you can underestimate the importance of having comfy shoes. I've got my friends who just say I'm the comfy shoes queen, but you know something? There's nothing worse than you go on holiday and the first day you get blisters, and then you've got to walk the next day, and it's just awful. So I'll tell you a little story. I had, shall we say, the most wonderful pair of black ankle boots that were the most comfortable boots I've ever had. I always wear them in the UK, worn them. They're just brilliant. I left them at my mum's this year when I came back to Australia, and she's given them to a charity shop by accident.
No!
So I now have to buy another pair of boots, which obviously I can't get in Australia at the moment because it's summer, so there's no boots in store.
Oh.
And obviously you need to break them in. The thing is, another thing as well, you might get comfy shoes, but you need to wear them for a good amount of time before you go.
Yes.
You know, and literally all I had when I was in the UK, so we were back for 12 weeks. I had my pair of boots, which I no longer have, and I had a pair of Birkenstocks, which is what I wear here in Australia. And that's what I wore. And that was perfect for me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it is a huge, you know, and I know people say, oh, I'm going to buy new shoes. But, you know, just take shoes that you're comfortable in, because nobody really cares. Right. Nobody cares, because you guys love England so much. I'm hoping that you guys are going to be going back again at some point. And if you do, is there anything that you would do differently from this trip?
Well, me personally, I loved traveling with the trains. But if we did that, I think I'd probably maybe only want to go to one other place. I mean, we loved it, and it was exactly the trip we wanted.
Yeah.
But I think that in a future time, I would find more, discover one area a little bit more intensely, stay there longer, and not do as much, you know, packing up and moving on. But that being said, that is the trip we absolutely wanted, yep. And it worked out perfectly for us.
Right.
But I think the next time around, we might do it differently.
Yeah, so base yourself in one place. Do you agree, Melinda, maybe a bit?
Maybe. Or maybe just like between two places or something.
Yeah.
We figured we averaged about how many miles a day?
Walking, well, our lowest was 4 miles, and that was the day we had a 9-hour train trip. Our most was 16 miles. I think we averaged between about 10 to 12 miles a day in walking.
Now that's, you know, not speed walking.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of time on your feet.
That's a lot.
But you're in a different place. You're all, so it's really, people were like, I can't believe you did all that. But that's all we have to do, and then figure out where we're going to eat the next meal. So
yeah. Exactly, you don't really notice it, do you? Because you're kind of wandering from place to place, and you've got your route that you're going to follow, and you kind of go, and then you stop off and enjoy, visiting somewhere, and then you go to the next place and visit that, and then you go to the next place, and then all of a sudden at the end of the day you go, wow, I can't believe I've just done so many steps. But yeah, it does creep up in you, doesn't it? But again, having the comfortable shoes is the key to be able to do that.
Exactly. Love to go to the Yorkshire Dales. We've watched different shows from there in the past, and it just beautiful. So that would be a whole different kind of trip, I think. We'd probably spend more time there.
So I would say that if you were going to do a bit more of the north, so obviously I'm from the north of the UK, north of England, I should say, because I know so I'm from the north of England. So I'm originally from Northumberland, which is the northernmost county which borders with Scotland. So I would recommend, if you're going to do that, spend a bit of time in Yorkshire, spend a bit of time in Northumberland, because Hadrian's Wall, absolutely stunning. The Northumberland coastline, absolutely stunning. And also Northumberland has the most castles out of any county in England. And then go to the Lake District. So you've got kind of that, you could do the three. I think that would be, the Yorkshire Dales, beautiful, absolutely. And obviously you spent a bit of time. You went to
Howard.
Yeah, Castle Howard. Yeah, exploring a bit more of that. And then perhaps spend a little bit of time in my neck of the woods, and then go. The Lake District is also absolutely beautiful place to visit. So that would be a nice little triangle for you to do.
Our next trip, Tracy. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I never know. One of these days I might organise some tours around these places, so you can come along with us.
That would be awesome.
Do it. Okay, now
sign us up.
Sign us up.
I will do. So I'm going to end, because we've been talking for an hour, would you believe it? I always end the podcast by asking the same question, everybody. And it's basically, what is the one tip that you would give to anybody who's visiting England for the first time?
my tip would be, number one, connect with you guys.
Absolutely.
Because you provided us so much help in your site and your, not just you, but also the people that are on your Facebook page and stuff. They have great insights and suggestions. In fact, one gal wrote to me when she heard we were in the Cotswolds, and she said, if you like Tolkien, you need to go to Stow
on the Wold.
Yeah, to that church and that door. I had absolutely no idea about in it. I love that place. That was awesome to me. But so research, and talk to people and connect with good resources, which you guys are awesome resources.
Yes.
Thank you. Melinda?
That's exactly what my husband said. Talk to a lot of people who have been there and connect with you too, for sure.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I have to say thank you so much to both of you to come on the podcast today. It's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you and catch up with you about your trip.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
Fun to talk about it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of brings the memories back as well, isn't it? When you can.
So much, Tracy. So much. I got to go plan now.
Thanks again to Liz and Melinda for sharing their experiences and tips from their trip to England. Remember, you can find links to everything we talked about in this episode on our website, uktravelplanet.com/episode 25. Again, thanks so much for listening to the UK Travel Plan podcast. Remember to leave us a review for a possible shout out in a future episode. That just leaves me to say until next week, happy UK travel planning.